Life Uncensored, navigating adulthood one episode at a time. We're available on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You can also check us out on our website, life-uncensored.com. Come on over and see what you've been missing. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, party people. I've been gone for a minute, but I'm back. Not that long, but there was a little bit of a hiccup with our last scheduled episode. I had a medical situation, but as you see, I'm all fine and good, and I'm here, and I'm glad to see you guys. I'm glad to have you along for this ride. We have a great episode for you today. I want to make sure that I shout out all the people who sent well wishes, who reached out, who checked in on me, all the good stuff. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My listeners and my watchers are great, and I appreciate each and every one of you, collectively and individually. Today, we are going to be talking to Miss Chanaye Jackson, friend and family member of Life Uncensored, navigating adulthood one episode at a time. And we're going to be talking about what she does to help transform business operations, which I think is going to be really important, especially with what we're dealing with in today's climate in business, what's happening in America today with business and things of the like. So we are going to be talking to Ms. Chanaye Jackson and getting some of her insight, her valuable insight on those things. For those of you who are not familiar with her, Ms. Chanaye Jackson is a dynamic entrepreneur who transforms business operations and processes to enhance efficiency and profitability. With a keen eye for improvement and a passion for the future, she optimizes processes to boost morale, peace of mind, and the bottom line. I want you all to make sure that you're tuning in on LinkedIn every second Wednesday of every month at 2 p.m. Eastern for her fireside chats. That's right, Chanaye Jackson on LinkedIn, fireside chats, and she's talking about all the different things business related that will help you, business entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, medium size, small size, large size. Everybody can benefit from her fireside chat. So let's welcome Miss Chanaye Jackson to the stage. Hi. Hey, Chanaye. Hey.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to see you. And I'm glad that you're on the mend.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You know, getting old, I've always said, adulthood is a
worst
mean trick
yeah.
played on bad kids. That's what I have resolved to. Adulthood is not real. It's just a bad trick, a mean trick played on bad kids.
Yeah. Worst decision I've ever made.
Yeah. So for those of you out there who, I can't wait till I grow up. I can't wait to move out. I can't wait to do what I want to do.
Relax.
How you feel about that now?
I was definitely one of those kids. When I grow up, I was totally one of those kids. So yeah, no. Yeah. And
how you feeling about that now?
Life came at me fast. I have celebrated, I'm a little over 20 years from high school graduation. Looking a couple of years now, I'll be 20 years out of college, and I'm like, jeez, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The thing is make sure you drink your water. Get your exercise, drink your water, eat right, get your exercise. Because I did look at myself not too long ago. I shared a picture of myself with a friend when I was 22, and he goes, "Chanaye, you don't look all that much different." And I said, "Thanks." I will. That.
Well, you forgot the most important thing. Drink your water, your exercise, get your sleep, all of that. Mind your business.
Mind your business.
And mind your business. I love having you on my show. Like, we always have a ball of fun. Listen, for those of you who are, like I said, not familiar and have not seen Chanaye yet, I want you already to be prepared that we are silly. We cuss. And we have fun, but you get good information. So, what more can you ask for, right?
I'm ready. I
Yes,
love it. I
Lord.
love coming on. This is my first time coming on and I'm all by myself. So who knows what's gonna come out of my mouth.
Yeah, yeah. Normally, Chanaye is part of our panel, our women's business panel. And this is part three of that series of having each of them on individually, talking about very specific topics. So, um, yeah, we'll see how this goes.
It's gonna be great.
I make no apologies. Okay,
None.
for those
I
of you who are sticking around for the whole conversation, I make no apologies. Okay, you've made
yeah.
your choice.
If you were around in the 90s, you remember that shirt that said no regrets? That's like keep that
Yes.
keep that in mind.
Yes, I do. I had maybe two or three of those. So.
But yep. It got tattooed in the invisible ink on my forehead. Let's go.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Well, shoot, let's jump right into it. Today we're here to talk about fixing business systems, right? That are specifically powering your business, and that could mean so many things, depending on your peer view of it, right? So the first thing I want to talk about, the first question I'm going to ask you is, what is the first sign that a business system is broken and holding the company back? I feel like that's a huge thing that people aren't talking about a lot.
Thank you for asking. Because no, they don't. It's how I stay in business, actually, because people don't know what it means. But let's go ahead and let's start at the bare basics. What is a business system?
Yes. Okay.
And really, it is the motor that moves your business along. So, and there's inside of a system there. So I like to think of it kind of as like a funnel, and everything gets more specific as you go further down in the funnel. So you have strategy, right? So you have a social media strategy, you have a phone call strategy, you have a client development strategy, you have an onboard, right? Like there's lots of strategies. Inside of those strategies, there are systems, and those systems are broad. So if we look at business development, for example, okay, so what systems are in there? You have a way in which you you find people, right? So maybe you develop call lists. Maybe you have a networking strategy, the way that you go and talk to find other people who go and then you have a referral system that you've created to do that. Things like that. And then inside of those systems, you have processes. And so processes are like literally like when you think of a process, it is the thing that you would write out on the piece of paper. We call them SOPs or standard operating procedures, right? So really what I find the most fascinating, the work that I hang out in the most, to be honest, is people are like, well, I need a system. And I'm like, well, do you have a strategy? So, and I like to be honest, like, so my background is in data. So I used to be a biological researcher in bench science. I used to do a lot of public health research as well. One of my good friends, he used to tell me, everybody needs data because there's nothing else.
Literally, data runs the world.
There's God and then there's everybody else, right? And so everybody else needs data. And I completely subscribe because, right, like, and funny enough, I'm not really a feelings person, but when I ask somebody, like, what's going on in your business, you can tell me whatever you want. I kind of feel like a therapist when I first started working with clients. And really what I'm asking them is, so how you feeling? What's the first thing that comes up? Not what you've heard from a guru, not what you've read online, but like when you just sit there and the thing that is stressing you out, keeping you up at night, that you hate, that's driving you absolutely bonkers, that's making you mad, whatever. Choose your adjective and go deep, like into that feeling. What are the feelings that come up when you think about whatever your business is doing? That's the thing that we're going to tackle. Funny enough is that I understand that 9 times out of 10, you're talking about a process, but it's because you don't have a strategy. So I end up taking you back further. So for example, I was hired to help my client with a launch. She was launching a course, whatever. And that's granted, I'm not a launch strategist. That's not my work. right?
Okay. Okay.
But I'm an operations person, so I was curious to know, like, so how are you delegating all of the launch stuff to your people? Launch strategists we can hire on top of me, and those people do really really specific type of things. But I want to make sure with your course, can you deliver? Right? With
Got you. Got you.
can you deliver? How can you deliver? Is your team equipped? Can you scale this up? Can you scale it back down when you need to? Right? Like overall, who's handling what, where, when, and why, right?
Hmm.
And so she hired me as I would say that her main focus was she was focused on her course. But then I go, key questions. How are you promoting it? She said, oh, well, build it and they will come. You know that that's
I
not
didn't
how
know people were still saying that.
yeah. Like, yeah, that's not how that works. I was like, I love you. Okay, cool. We're not doing that. How much are you priced? She's a woman. All of the people that I've worked with so far, I don't have a preference, but all of the clients that I've worked with have been women. Women, this is totally just in my experience. So
Sure.
only looking at my clients have been pricing themselves at least 30% below market rate. At least.
I
So
believe that.
she gave me her price and I was like, yep, that's wrong. So, um and I wasn't saying it like in a mean way, right? Like I wasn't like like
Yeah.
but like so I started asking her questions and I was like,
Yeah.
oh well, we're not so when you think about strategy to systems to process, she's asking about a process, but I'm like, where's all the strategy that's
Yeah.
necessary? And she was missing all of it. And what we ended up figuring out is, oh, well, she actually wasn't really, she had a 40 plus thousand person email list. How are you going to bring those people into this opportunity to buy this amazing course? Like it's the first of its kind, et cetera. How do we go about making sure that whoever is on that list that wants it, how do we make sure that they're there to be
Yeah.
able to
Yeah.
pick up their card, open it up, and do the thing? So it was, and but then we realized, oh well, as you go further, oh her email service provider is not a good one like that. She can't segment her audience well enough so she could even tell who might actually want something like that, right?
So it
So
was more like an all or nothing type of deal.
yeah,
Okay.
I have a very few like strong feelings about most tools, but MailChimp is the devil.
Did you all hear that? MailChimp is the devil, as per Chanaye Jackson, business operations strategist.
Yeah, unless you're just emailing, period, you're like, I just send out emails and I don't care what happens.
Oh,
You,
wow.
but if you're a business that has like stuff going on in it and you want to
Yeah.
segment and whatever, MailChimp is the devil. There's lots of options for you out in the universe. And yeah, of course we can match you to the correct one. But like again, what was happening is what she thought was like something that was going to be easy, quote unquote, right? I want to launch my course. Let's do that. Yes, let's do that. But then we start going into root cause analysis, RCAs, and going, oh, okay, no, that's your ESP doesn't make sense. So we don't actually have really good data about activity that people have done. Okay, so we need to change your email service provider. Oh, okay, well, we don't have like there's a set of emails and things that really need to go out as a part of a launch. Okay, you don't have that ability to do that. That's fine. Let's put you in touch, right? So
Mhm.
I gave you a very long-winded answer to your question, but I hope that answer.
Well, yeah, because what I'm hearing you say is the the question was, what's the first sign that business system is broken? What I'm hearing is the first sign is when somebody can't tell you what their strategy is and why.
And how it feels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like how are they feel? Like if it's any negative feeling that's sitting around, then it
Mm-hmm.
means that that's the thing that we're going to change.
Mm-hmm. And
And
you
and
know,
that's, and
it's
that's
funny.
relying on your own body, not on some outside.
Exactly. Not what you've heard or what you think it should be because of such and such said. And yeah, no, yes, I agree. I'm going to say that I have a client in particular whoever was the last one to speak to them, that's the thing that's gold.
Right.
So like I can be like, oh, okay, so the sky is blue, so this is how we have to move forward. And they'll be like, oh, okay, yes, that makes sense. Okay, I love it. And full steam ahead. And then tomorrow, Chanaye can be like, okay, the sky is gold. So this is how we're gonna. Oh well, my sister, my friend, my whoever said the sky is gold. So now that's the thing, right? And they don't have that their own feeling. They're not in touch with what's going on for themselves before taking outside opinions, thoughts, ideations, so on and so forth. So what you're saying to me makes absolute perfect sense.
Yeah. I don't believe in any gurus. I feel like there's a lot of people with a lot of good ideas,
Absolutely.
but doesn't make sense for you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, exactly.
there needs to be a filter. And I think the simplest filter, right? Like the best filter is data. The simplest filter that you always have is your feelings. Like,
Mm.
that doesn't feel right.
Hmm.
Okay, cool. That's enough. There's, just like the word no is a sentence, right? No period, that's a sentence. Your feelings of that doesn't feel right. That is enough.
Right.
we
Right.
don't we don't need to question it or whatever, because like
Yeah.
not every there's a lot of options and a lot of opportunities out in the world. So
Yeah.
starting with your feelings and like, does that make sense? Because to be honest, a lot of times when people are teaching, they forgot where they came from, not on purpose. They don't, like, a
Sure.
lot of stuff is not malicious, but like they forgot where they came from, and like what feelings that, and like what things did they need to learn first before they were ready to say yes or feel comfortable saying yes to something like what they're proposing. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, like, for example, I was
Mm.
talking to somebody yesterday and they were like, I really want to do an ad strategy to grow my email list. And I was like, does that feel good to you? Like, because at the same time she was talking about how much she doesn't like Meta, but she was talking about running Meta ads. And I was like, well, if you don't like Meta, then why would you?
Force yourself into it. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's lots of options to
As
grow
my
your
sister
email.
would say, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
I think there's a million ways to skin a cat, and there's probably a few others after that. So yeah, I've been finding it interesting that we're subscribing to gurus when really your feelings are the guru,
Hmm. I
and then
agree.
you back it up with data.
And then back it up with data because data literally runs the world. Yeah, no, I agree. And actually, you answered that question and my next question, which was, what should someone actually be thinking about when they say, "Oh, I need some better systems"? And I think that answered all of that at the same time because, and listen, like you, I'm not a feelings person, right?
Yeah.
I literally just told someone yesterday, I was like, I don't really do feelings like that. Like if you ask me how I feel about something, 9 times out of 10, my response is going to be, I don't feel anything about it. I can tell you what I think.
Right.
I don't feel nothing about it. I'll tell you what I think about it, though.
Yeah.
But to your point, there are, when you're talking about this sort of thing within your business, within what you're trying to accomplish, there are feelings that come along with that. And yeah, I hate dealing with Meta for this reason and that reason, that reason. Yeah, so I think I'm going to use this Meta to do so. Do you feel like that's the right thing? Like, I agree. I think what you just said was nail on the head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
You don't.
contradiction to your own instinct, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that running a business is largely built on education and instinct and experience. That's
Mm,
my right. So of course, like the longer you run a business, like the more instincts or the more like experience you're gonna have, and there's things that I don't have to think about anymore because I've been a business
gotcha.
owner now for 7 years. But that's cool. But like that doesn't mean that I'm never going to learn anything anymore
Right.
or whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm evolving daily, and my therapist. Everybody should have a therapist at least for a little while. She
Ding,
gave me
ding, ding.
She gave me a feelings wheel. You can Google it. There's lots of them out there. So I don't even ask people to use their word. Like I use thinking. I'm a thinking word. Like I don't really think. I don't really like that. That's a thing. That's not a feeling. That's I don't like that. Right? Like, that's a thinking. But like if you went and decided that you were going to choose a word on the feelings wheel, you could use that. Like you're confused, right? You're agitated. Like those are all fine. That's fine, right? So I don't think that. So when I use the word feelings, it can be thinking feelings.
Yeah.
If
Yep.
that
Yep. Yep.
like
Yeah.
so, don't feel like wrapped up. It's not. It's not
Yeah.
completely.
And sometimes you need a you. Sometimes you don't have the word to put to whatever you're thinking slash feeling.
Yeah,
I like that feelings will. Guys, look that up.
yeah. It's a
And I
feelings.
agree. Everybody should have a therapist.
Yeah, everybody. Everybody needs one.
So let's talk about the reactors in your business. So in my personal life, I tell people all the time, and not all the time, but people who don't know me well, I have to tell this to. I am more of a reactor, right? So the version of me you get is based on the version of you that you present to me,
Okay.
right? So um, if you catch me burning a place down, it wasn't because I woke up that day like, screw it, I'm gonna burn some crap down to the ground. That's not how I roll. I will very instinctively react to how you have presented yourself, right? And in the same way, I think that a lot of people are that way with their businesses, in that they're looking to solve a problem when the problem arises as opposed to getting ahead of it, right? But what's that? What do they call it? What's it called? Preventative maintenance versus reactive
Yeah.
maintenance. So with that, right, with that analogy, when you've got a business that's stuck in that perpetual reactive mode, what is the very first thing that you recommend that they fix, quote unquote?
Take time off. Go rest.
Mm, walk away for a little while.
You gotta. It's yeah. Like go ahead and because
That's
what's when
interesting.
you're reactive, it's because when you're reactive, and I think that this is because I'm with you, right? Like again, lots of therapy. I like fires, right? I will incinerate. Just watch the fire in the corner. So this is coming from a person who is like I don't wake up ready to fight, but I will.
But I will, and will
um,
enjoy doing so
and
while
will
in it.
smile while I'm doing it. So I think so. The thing that I really encourage my clients is that like essentially running a business is a marathon. It
Yes.
it's a marathon that you want to run, but you're running. I
Hmm.
don't know. Do you like running? Do you want to be outside? Do you like the bugs? Do you like going distances? Right? Like you have a whole bunch of things that we're asking you when you're deciding to run a business that we're asking you to do. And but we forget that we're like whole people,
Yeah.
right? And especially for you and I, right? I'll just use you and I as good examples. We walked out of corporate like this isn't a side hustle. This is the like it's not a side hustle, it's the hustle.
This is the it. Yes.
And so now we're balancing our homes with our families, our loved ones, our friends, our stuff. So we're walking, so the goal is that we're actually walking around as whole people. And so what happens is like we get stuck in the like my mom used to say rigmarole, and it's like my favorite word, right? So we get stuck in the rigmarole, like we're just constantly like tumbling along,
Yeah.
and then we go, and then we start, and then there's a point for all of us where until we kind of figure some stuff out first, where we start hitting places where we're super reactive, or
Mm.
we feel like we got sideswiped by something that's happened or
Yes.
right. And so we go, so then we're constantly being like, ah, but like what would, which is a great, we're like, ah, I love my words there. Yeah, if you feel that way, like, ah, that's a sign.
That's a sign.
So those work, no words works too. And yeah, and so like, I feel like as a part of my practice that I tell my clients and that I practice for myself is like, go walk, go run, go do something else, change the game. Do you meditate, talk to a friend, right? Like I build that into my weeks, like into my week, actually, Mondays and Fridays. Like they are very different days, but there are different ways for me to rest so that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I can show up like the badass that I am. Right.
Gotcha.
So, and so like when I think about like when somebody is, especially when somebody is super reactive or when you're super frustrated or super annoyed, right? Add that super on there. It's usually because you need to take a break,
Mm-hmm.
move on, accomplish the things that don't like, you know, like somebody said this to me a long time ago. They said, you know, it takes like three good things, three or seven, it's a lot. Three good things to get rid of a one bad thing, right? Like we remember the bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so go stack on the things that were good so you can push those feelings out.
It's almost like flushing it out.
Flushing it out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that. So the system, because I still would consider it a system, the system that you would recommend in that type of situation, first thing prioritize is you need a break. Whether that means time off, whether that means building in some very specified non-business time. Um, and for me, I'm a walker. I love to walk, right? So I do about 4 miles every day. And I love to be outside. I love smelling the fresh air, especially as the seasons change. I love all the things about, I pop my music in and it's just me and nature and nothing else. And that's a way to clear my head. It's a way to kind of work out whatever frustrations are going on. It does so much for me, but that's my thing, right? And it works. Now, when we're talking about really bad weather days where I can't get out, I love to be in the kitchen, just
Yep.
cooking. Same thing. I put my music on. I have my bottle of wine, and I'm cooking and sipping, and I'm singing, and and all those things, like you said, are flushing away the grit, the rockiness. So I like that. That's a very purposeful system that you're talking about putting in place, or not putting in place, but making a priority when you find yourself in like everything is putting out a fire, because that's not natural. That's not normal. It shouldn't always be putting out a fire.
No.
And if you're in that state, that means that you have not taken time to breathe and give your brain a minute to say, okay, these are things that I can think of ahead of time before it becomes a fire.
Yep.
I know in the corporate world, more times than not, when I saw that happening in a department, there were a couple of things happening. Short staffed, not enough brains thinking and hands working on the necessary thing. Um, Poor communication with leadership to staff, vice versa. So one hand didn't know what the other hand was doing. And then also just plain old burnout, in the sense of we've been on this very same hamster wheel for X amount of time with no foreseeable change, no light at the end of the tunnel. And so now everything is a fire that you're putting out because you can't even make your brain think ahead of the game. So I like that that's a system that you recommend prioritizing.
Yeah, I have let me see if they're sitting right here. They're not sitting right here, unfortunately. I'd have to get up and move around, but I have these things. They're called rest cards, and definitely Google them. But essentially, one of the things is so I pull them kind of like you would pull like a tarot card or from like a whatever, like a regular deck, and like it's the idea is it's reclaiming that we have the right to rest.
Ooh, say that again. Say that again.
We're reclaiming that we have the right to rest. And like,
Ooh,
and why I say that is because what I said earlier is running a business is a marathon.
yeah.
Like, we're talking ultra marathon, right? Like, again, I've been a business owner for 7 years. Do you know how many runs into the wall and like falling down, getting hit upside the head I have experienced in 7 years? And I
Mm,
hope to be a business owner for another 30. I got a
mm,
lot, like it's a marathon. And so
mm.
reclaiming our right to rest, especially in times of frustration. Like, if you're a walker, amazing, take it. I do slow mornings. I drink a couple cups of tea. I take my dog for a walk. She's 4 years old, so she needs the walk. I, I read a ton. Like this weekend, like to be honest, I'm in a space of frustration right now,
Mm,
personally and in my business. What did I do this weekend? I read. I
mm.
I'm a voracious reader. I usually read about 100 books a year.
I
I
love
read
that.
I read 4 this weekend. Why? Because I was reclaiming that I had the right to bring my nervous system down. I was bringing my brain down. And then when I woke up on like Sunday morning, I was like, oh, that's what I need to do. Let's go.
Uh,
Right?
uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Because when you rest, you're giving yourself space. And when you give
Mm-hmm.
yourself space, you can think. And when you can think, you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, and because when we're reacting, we're not thinking. We're going down into like the most basic, like our most basic brain. It's probably our reptilian brain, but I don't know. Like, I might be making that up. But when we can't think, we're just like, when was a lot, like, think about like the last time you were super angry, right? And when you were angry, you were angry. You didn't like calculate the
Right.
differential or whatever, like you just went from 0 to 100, right? And like, this is the same idea when in your business, when you are frustrated, when you are heightened, you can't think. And then everything is easier to fall apart or get picked at. And so all those feelings that I asked you about earlier, like the things that need to change or whatever, everything feels like 900 times higher, when in fact it's probably like a 5 most of the time
Mm-hmm.
on a scale of like 1 to 10. And
Mm-hmm.
but you feel like it's incredibly high, like
Mm-hmm.
1,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, like if you give yourself time to think and breathe, whatever. And there's lots of ways that adding systems in. So I have slow mornings. That's the big part for me. And that's been really, really important. I wake up early every morning. It's just what it is. I got a dog who needs to be walked. Um, and then I drink a lot of tea. I think I drink probably a pot of tea every day, right? Like, and then I start my day off reading a book, right? Like, some people go to the gym, some people are like, put on my walking shoes. Like, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Bible, listen to some meditation. There's lots of like ways that you can bring your brain down so you
Mhm.
can, because what we're trying to do is we need you to think. We need to
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. And, as you were talking, I just was remembering all those times, like in the office, I'm working on something and it's not doing what I wanted to do. Maybe it's a spreadsheet or something, or I can't figure something out, blah, 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 blah. And then finally, I get to a point where I go, you know what? I need to walk away from this. Maybe go get some lunch or something. When I come back, 2 seconds in, oh, boom, now it's working. Look at that. Right. And that's with everything. Think about it. Like you're looking for something in your house and you can't find it. You're tearing the house apart. You walk away, you come back, put your finger right on it.
Yeah.
Like
It
it's
was in front of you.
right, right. So everything that you're saying, again, nail on the head. Nail on the head.
I mean, so the goal when I think about my work with my clients is I'm helping them remember how to think,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because when folks come to me, they're frustrated, they're overwhelmed, they're tired, right? And so, what would happen if we pushed a little? Like, let's let's go. And when I ask about your feelings are the things, like those are the things. When I think about your feelings, I'm thinking about, oh, those are the things that are keeping you up at night, which means that you can't think anymore, right?
Ah.
So I ask you, oh, when you come to me, I know you're frustrated, right? I told you about my client who wants to launch the course and she wants to make more money. Yes, absolutely. But like, tell me more,
Mm-hmm.
right? Oh, I'm tired, I'm frustrated. This is not working. This is not working. Oh, okay, cool. So let's open up your business a little bit more so you have space to think. And because you're going to come up with your shower thoughts only come if you have space to think.
Mm-hmm.
You're out for a walk with your dog by yourself, listening to music, cooking in the kitchen. Those thoughts only come if you have space.
And you have to make room for that.
You need room. So you being frustrated means that you're kind of, this is like kind of a weird way, but like you're protecting your frustration, which means that you're keeping out all of the ideas and thoughts that'll get you out of it. So
Yes.
what do we need to do to push you a little further out? So then,
Yes.
okay, yeah. And then
Yes.
you can say yes or no or maybe or let me think about it to opportunities that might help you, right? Like, so
Mm-hmm.
with my client, I was like, let's talk about her emails, right? I was like, okay, well, maybe we should change. Not maybe. I didn't really give her an option because MailChimp. But I was like, so we need to change your mail. We need to change your ESP. So here are some options. I gave her the options because I know most systems pretty
Yeah.
well. I was like, here's the options. Here's why I like this one versus this one for you. But here's the options. There, and all of them have free trials. Feel free to like dink around on them and whatever.
Yeah.
She was able to take that, like, because she was like, okay, yeah, like I have 40,000 people that I don't know how to segment them, and I can't do it in the current ESP that I have. MailChimp, again, don't do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but we can in these options that I gave her. Okay, cool. And they're all great for lots of different reasons. They're also terrible for other reasons. So, right? But then you can think. Well, one of her contractors that she works with all the time, he loves that. He thought it was so like fun. It is fun, but not fun for everyone. He thought it was so fun to figure out how to transfer these people over and categorize them as they could, tag them as they were, and he's actually taken over a lot of the responsibility for managing her email
Wow.
list. That wasn't a part of his work, but because she had the space to be like, I really like this one. And then she showed it to him and he was like, me too, which then only adds more opportunity to up level your current employees or your
Yeah.
contractors that work with you, right?
Absolutely.
So she got a lot more, what is it, mileage out of one person. And he wanted to do it. He wanted to up level. He wanted to upskill.
Yeah. Well, and then it also encouraged the work smarter, not harder, right?
Hard.
That mindset. So definitely, I can see why. Yeah, and you're right. Listen, there's certain things I'm like, oh, this is so fun. Oh, this spreadsheet. Oh, look at this is great. And people be like, girl, if you don't get out my face. Some things are fun for some people,
Yeah. Well,
and that's okay.
I'm not gonna yuck your yum. I will never yuck your yum. So, but like, yeah, but like this is, but like opportunities. Oh, but like when you're able to breathe, when you have space, then
Mm-hmm.
you're able to open yourself up for opportunities that can then lead to
Mm-hmm.
other really great things. And that meant that she didn't have to figure out a new system. She could just ask her dude, and he was like, "Yeah, I got you."
Yeah.
And
Easy
she didn't have to
peasy.
think about it, right?
Easy peasy.
Easy
Well, let
peasy.
me ask you, what do you think is what's one business system you think that, with no exception, all businesses should have? If you could just wave your magic wand and every single business out there had it and that wouldn't be a problem on their plate, what would it be?
Oh, so I'm always changing. I have three:
Okay.
client onboarding,
Mm-hmm.
client offboarding,
Mm-hmm.
and finances. Those are
Mm.
probably the like under and like how do you and like, remember, these are systems. I'm
Yeah.
not talking
Yeah.
strategy. I'm not talking processes.
Yeah.
Client onboarding, client offboarding, and finances.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Clients pay you, clients will stop paying you, and then you need to manage your money.
Right. Clients pay you, clients will stop paying you, clients will refer other clients to pay you.
Right. So those are,
Yes.
whenever I'm in a business, those are probably, to be honest, those are probably the first three that end up being tackled, because they're so important. Because
Absolutely.
you don't have a business if you don't have clients, and you don't have
Yeah.
clients, right? Like, if your clients aren't paying you, then it means that they're not clients.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
right, and then inside of those, there's processes, right? How do we bill? How do we bill? When do they get billed? Uh, when do they get their items? How are, like, is it based on phases? Is it based on deliverables? Is it a retainer? Right? Like, there are a whole bunch of different processes inside of that you need to decide. But basically, it's real easy to become just an expensive hobby if you're not careful. So,
Mm.
like, so how do we make as much as we can, as much as what we can, automatic?
Oh, I like that. I like that you said that. Your business can become a expensive hobby as opposed to a business if you are not managing some of those systems
And those,
appropriately.
and I use those three specifically because those are
Wow.
directly tied to money.
Wow.
Directly tied to money.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, of course there's others, like, I would always like, what's your business development system? Like, I'm always curious, like, your strategy, but also the
Sure.
systems
Sure.
inside of it. For sure, right? Your referral systems, I'm always curious to know about those. But like, the three that are tied into money, like, that
Mm-hmm.
actually define you as a business,
Mm-hmm. That's
those
it.
are those are the three,
That's
period.
it. Yeah. Wow. 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 I like that. And it makes, I mean, it's simple enough, but at the same time, it could be hard,
Oh
right?
yeah, no,
If it's
no,
not your thing, it
it's
can
hard.
be hard. And you already know my feeling on the word niche. I hate when people ask me, "Oh, what's the niche? Why can't my niche be a lot of stuff?" Like I can be an expert in a whole lot of stuff, and there are experts in a whole lot of stuff. But there are certain things though that you do need to hone in on for very particular reasons. And some listen, that's why I'm in business. I have people that when it comes to numbers, money, stuff like that, they're all thumbs, right? I'm all thumbs when it comes to marketing. That's why there's people out here for that, you know, all the things. But I think that makes such a powerful point that when you, and this is, listen, I'm saying this to out here to all the people who are new or thinking about business, going into business for themselves. If you don't know what you plan to do when you get that first client and how you're going to handle them, and it could be as simple or as I don't want to use the word complicated, but complicated as you want it to be, right? From first calls to kickoff meetings to first deliverables to how often you'll meet, all those different things. If you don't have that already down pat, you already come out the gate looking like you don't know what you're doing, right? And you can have the best product, best service in the world. But something as, think about it when you think about customer service, right? You on the other end of it. If who you're dealing with seems disorganized, discombobulated, can't answer what you think is a basic question, already points are being taken off, right? From the scoreboard already.
Yep.
Um, and then you, like you said, you patch that into the offboarding piece of it. How was their experience when it was time to offboard and close out a contract, so on and so forth?
Yep.
All those things make it. Listen, I was telling Chanaye before we got on this recording that my stay at the hospital was immaculate, like to the point where I'm going to write the board a letter. Like it was immaculate from the moment I stepped foot in to the moment I stepped foot out. So the onboarding, going in, and the offboarding, going out. It was immaculate, and I'll never forget that. And if ever anybody ever says anything to me about needing to go, I'm going to recommend that place, right? It's like that with any business. And yes, hospitals, that's a business,
It's
right?
a
It's
business.
like that with any business. So that's why I use that example. It makes a difference. And then making sure that your finances are in order, that you have systems in place for your finances, how you're going to pay people, how are you going to make sure people are paying you, how are you going to keep up with, hey, somebody missed a payment, hey, I missed a payment, all of those things. That is really the nucleus, I'll say, of your business. So I put that out there for those who are either thinking about going into business for themselves or who are freshly in it and haven't learned that lesson yet. Like, get on it,
Yeah.
get on it.
The reality is some of us are really good at sales, and we can sell what is it, like
Water to
water
a
to
whale.
a whale, right? Some of us are really good, but to be honest, we don't keep custom. In my focus as an operations person, my focus is I want to keep the client for as long as we possibly can. And sure, you might have a business where it's like it's a one and done, right? Like maybe you have a product, right? Like maybe you sell toilet paper. I'm just Maybe you sell toilet paper. But I could be a client that's like, I like that. I liked my experience with that business. So I'm going to continue to buy my same toilet paper from that person. And
Mm-hmm,
so I really focus on client lifetime value,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
So and
Yeah.
really client lifetime value is retention strategies, and retention strategies are all about what was their experience, how did they interact with the business, how can I continue, right? Like no one wants to go back to the hospital, but if you gotta go,
Mm-hmm.
you're saying I have a hospital for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a similar thing. Like
Yep.
when you buy a car, how often do you buy a car? But you had that experience with this dealership, with this person, and you're like, I'll be back in like 10 years, but I'm going to start there,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so, how can we continue a relationship
Mm-hmm.
by ensuring that our processes, our systems, our overall
Yes.
strategy is built to keep people around who want to
Absolutely.
keep them around? So so I guess maybe it's technically four systems if we're going to being very particular: onboarding, client offboarding, financial management, and client management.
Yes.
And that includes delivery.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. What would you say is the best way to balance your tech tools that you're using for your business and your human processes, right? Because they have to work hand in hand and they have to work well together in order to work. How would you say is the best way to balance those two things?
Okay, so here's my soliloquy. I got a long monologue for you. Basically, in corporate, the answer to every problem was to hire,
Yes. Hmm.
right?
Add more hands.
One more hand will help us, of course, right? I would say, as a small business owner, your answer to your problem should start with, can automation help me? And and so again, long soliloquy, super long monologue. So when I think about your tech tools, I think about like what problem is it solving and what problem will happen because I'm going further down this road. All
Mm.
right. So,
Mm.
for example, go high level is a really really is a great is I mean, I have feelings about go high level. If you like it, I love it, but it's not for me. So go high level is one of those examples. It's your CRM, it can be your email service provider, it can be your website provider, it can be your scheduler, it can be a project management tool, I believe. There's a buttload of services inside of this one tool.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are like, okay, I'm going to use all of that eventually, because we never roll out one thing. I'm going to use all of that. Okay, sounds great. So what else is going to become a problem? So one of the things that I've noticed with Go High Level is its deliverability has issues. So eventually, not in a bad way, but eventually as you get bigger, you, and it's just the way that it works. It doesn't have a great deliverability score when you're sending to large audiences. And
Mm-hmm.
so as when you have 100 people on your email list, does it matter? But when you have 1,000 people on your email list, it might start to matter, right?
Mm.
So then, okay, so does it make, and then you're starting to notice, oh, well, it doesn't, it's a little clunky. And I'm picking on Go High Level because when these all-in-one tools, they can be great, but they also can be hindrances.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're thinking about like a tool that I have the tool that will solve all my problems and it will grow with me, yes, but then there might be some drawbacks where you might need to change. Go High Level might be the perfect tool for you right at this moment, but then as you age, your business ages, you grow, things get complicated, more
Yes.
complex.
Yes. The
Mm,
needs change.
maybe the all-in-one tool is not the best place for you to be. And I'm not saying, and again, I have feelings about Go High Level. It's not for me, but I know a lot of people who love it. Again, I'm not going to yuck your yum. Um, so when I think about tech tools and you personally, I really more so think about your brain. So I ask you about your feelings, but then I ask you about how do you think? One of the big things for me, and this is because I spent a lot of time doing like user experience sort of work, is how many clicks does it take for you to get to doing that option. Part of
Yes.
the reason why Go High Level is not for me is I was actually I paid for it. I was in it for a year, and I was like, why does it take me eight it took me 8 clicks to go from my CRM to changing my form. And I was still confused and I was very annoyed. I was like, this is my user experience. Another one is Honeybook. Honeybook on the customer side, if you want, you're like, I need to read that contract. I want access to that contract again.
Yeah.
You have to go in, you have to log in. Well, you have to find an email, click that link. That link is already expired. You need to wait for an email to log back in to be able to then access and then it sends you a link. Then you can click that link,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I,
And a
so
lot of people love Honeybook. It's not for me.
it's not for me. I'm not going to yuck your yum. It's not for me.
Yeah.
But again, we're going back to how do you think, right? How, like, what makes sense for you on people love ClickUp. ClickUp for me
Yes.
is basically I may as well have been doing differential calculus.
Oh my. Oh my.
I can do it because I'm tech inclined, but I was like, this is
A lot.
my it was a lot, right?
Mhm.
So when I think about tech tools and you personally, I think about how do you think when I'm looking at like I have a CRM that I absolutely loved. It's called Copper, right? It was like so you want to look at on the side navigation. It was like people or companies. I was like people, cool. Like, and then they had already created some filters for me. And I was like, I wanted, and like the filters that they had were exactly how I think. I was like, I want to see the people who I've recently interacted with.
Yeah.
There's a filter. Like, so when you're looking at a tool, we should always do a free trial.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, free trials are a way for you to also get in the system and it kind of locks you in. That's how I thought about that. But like, does it act when you think of, and this is only if you're at least semi-tech inclined, right?
Sure.
If you're
Sure.
not tech inclined at all, then that we have a
That
whole
well,
different,
that's another conversation.
that's a different
That's another
conversation.
episode.
Right. When you're not tech inclined, then maybe you should hire people. Maybe that's my first time ever saying that. But if you're semi-tech inclined, semi-tech literate, really it's thinking about how I think. And so when you're in the
Yeah.
tool, Dubsado is another one where I was like, I'm looking for the contracts. Where's the automation that I need to do? I was circling around and circling around. And it's because Dubsado's like interface is not the way that I think. So I was getting frustrated.
That is
And
one
your tech
thing that I love that you just said. Because I have been an accountant for nearly 30 years. Okay. And very nearly 30 years. And I've been in just about every accounting system software you can think of. And they all pretty much do the same thing. It's just a matter of what's the name of the button in this particular system versus that system, right?
Right.
There's, and I won't name names because it's very popular. Let's just say that it's on commercials that people use, especially small businesses, new businesses, that I hate with all that's in me.
Oh, you
And
mean
it's
QuickBooks?
because who's who said that? Who said that? Uh,
I
it's
mean,
because number one, it was not created by an accountant. Um, and you can tell as an accountant, you can tell. So things very that should be literally you just click here. No, it is 10, 12, 15 clicks. And then you're not sure if you're
and
actually
buried.
in the right place because it might also be something similar in a different place. Like there's just, it's so convoluted. For me, I always go for user friendly and not just user friendly from my side, but if it's going to also be client facing, if there's going to be a side of the client has to deal with, I need it to be user friendly on their side. Why? Because I am an accountant. I am not in IT. Okay. I don't want to have to get a call. Hey, I'm trying to blah, blah, blah. How do I do it? And I've got to walk them through the steps. That is now taken away from what I'm doing to run my business, right? I need something that, and listen, like you said, if you're not tech savvy, again, another episode, another conversation. But
Yeah.
in general, you should be able to, whatever the tool is for, accounting, your customer/client management, your inventory, whatever the thing is, it should be fairly simple once you learn how it works to use and to navigate not only for you but your client. And I'm a huge proponent of that. And if it's not, then it's a waste of time and a waste of money. And I also find, and you may agree or disagree with this, Chanaye, that the systems that tend to be less user friendly are the most expensive. Somebody make it make sense today, not tomorrow. Make it make sense. Why am I paying exorbitant monthly fees? You're nickeling and diming me for each little upgrade or feature or what have you. And it's hard to navigate your system versus a system that is just boom, it's right there in your face. Everything you need is boom, boom, easy, 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 and much friendlier to use. And it's much more cost effective. Make it make sense. I,
I think I think a lot of it is, or at least a large chunk of it is that people don't actually know what they're needing. So I
ooh.
there's also that part. So because it's going back kind of to the guru thing. So if you listen to the guru is going to tell you that you need, the most amazing thing on the planet, and you're like, but you still send out your invoices, one at a time, right? Like, so the other part is understanding, like, what problem are you solving by grabbing a specific system, and and even before you go looking, before you go and being like, this is the system, whatever, whatever, and getting all these recommendations, because like you and I already have thoughts about a lot of different systems, and it doesn't matter, right? Like, yes, QuickBooks is basically the devil. I will say that, have no problem in saying that, but it is also one of the more affordable ones for small businesses. It is what it is, right? So affordable-esque.
Yes.
Um, so when I think about, okay, I have a problem, I'll go with email service provider because I just had to switch mine over. So I was like, I need a new email service provider because what I want to do is I want my emails to be able to be formatted immediately so that I can more quickly and capably send them to my website as a blog. That's
Oh, okay.
I was like, this is because like I want because like essentially when I think about an email service provider, I'm like, I want to be able to send emails with good delivery on a regular
Hmm.
basis. I want to be able to tag my people. I want to be able to segment them. So essentially, I knew like when I thought about choosing an ESP, an email service provider, I was like, here's the things that it needs to do. And I went researching what do email service providers, what features do email service providers have? And then when I was starting to change, I was like, well, because I'm moving to my business in this slightly different way, it now means, okay, well, now I need to find ESPs that have this additional thing that will help me make that will solve this particular problem. Because
Mm.
the ESP that I had, I loved it. I thought it was great, but the workaround to be able to get the emails that I was sending up into my blog were hellacious. So it was going to cost me way more money, time, energy to get them up versus just switching over completely now. So when I think about, like, for example, I have a CRM rubric. I'm like, okay, here's some stuff that you might want to think about when you're choosing a CRM. Now go look for CRMs that have those
That
features.
check your boxes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What problems are we solving? And then go look. And then
Mm-hmm.
that's how you can and it really starts with how does my and that's how you also add in like how do I think? Like,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's where you can add in like how do I think, what's my user experience, what would be my
Mm-hmm.
client's user experience or my team's user experience because that matters as
Or
well.
your teams. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how do you like you end up combining all of those but understanding like what's the problem that needs to be solved and what's available out on the market. And sure, like you might even be sort of tiering like these problems are the ones that absolutely these 5 problems must absolutely be solved, but then if there's these other 3, if they solve these ones too, I'm going to be very happy. Oh, and like I would love if it had this feature because I want to go in this direction. That's fine too. But like when you're looking at new tech, because I'm a tech whore. Actually, right now I'm in the middle of combing all of my tech down because I have too many overlapping systems that unnecessary. It's we do it. We all do it because we like the shiny objects. They're pretty.
You're a tech whore. I freaking love that. And actually, you bring me to, as we start to wrap up, I want to ask you about AI. AI and technology are rapidly evolving, right? We're seeing it right before our eyes. And listen, I've been out of school 30 years at this point, out of high school specifically, 30 years at this point. And I remember being in the computer lab in high school and helping the daily downloads from the internet and listening to that sound that some of us are familiar with, right? So I remember that and where we are today. And now we've got Wi-Fi and now we've got hotspot and now, right? So tech and AI are evolving rapidly. We know that. What are some systems that, you know, forward thinking, and I use that term on purpose, forward thinking businesses need to invest in to be prepared for the future, right? To like future proof their operations, future proof their businesses. What do you think, based on what you know that is out there now? What would you say?
Well, if you're not using AI in some way, then you're behind.
Mm-hmm.
Like in some way. And there's
Mm-hmm.
lots of some ways.
Absolutely.
There's lots of some ways that can be used. So, for example, you told me you told everyone about my fireside chats that happen every month. Okay. So, for me to be able to coordinate a fireside chat, my very right before my very first one, like about a month before my first one, I was like, I have so many thoughts in my head and I need to put this in a document because to plan an event every month on a regular basis that has a lot of moving pieces, I was like, I can't come up with all of this in a reasonable amount of time. I'm going to quit. Right. And that's the, so inside of the fireside chat, I spent about 4 hours with ChatGPT, but you can choose your favorite. I really think that there's so many tools out in the universe. Choose one, choose two, and then go deep. It's kind
Yeah.
of the same thing with your tech tools. Like, choose one, choose two, go deep, use the crap out of it. And then when it's maxed out, then go and see like what was the maxing out that you hit. Oh, okay, cool. Now you can add in another tool.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is part of the reason why now I'm in a space where I'm culling down because I'm like, oh, I didn't max out that tool. So it
Oh.
I have too many tools that can do approximately the same thing. Okay, well, then maybe I shouldn't pay for two tools. Maybe I should just pay for one and
Mm-hmm.
call it a day. So when you think about AI, like, so for me, I hang out with ChatGPT. That's my favorite. Not for any particular reason other than it was the first on the market. That's why. There's no reason. But essentially now I've become a student of ChatGPT. Like, how can I use it more? Right. So
Mm-hmm.
I just enrolled. So I have these fireside chats that requires me to write two LinkedIn posts, a LinkedIn newsletter, 9 emails in a sequence. There's a post email, there's a pre-email sequence, a post email sequence. I write uh a couple of short descriptions and a few other things. So all told, I put out about 15 pieces of content per fireside per fireside chat.
Gotcha.
It's a lot. And even with the help of AI, it's still a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I created a custom GPT for myself. It's basically it's a planner GPT that goes and helps me knock through all 15 pieces and helps me remember what do I need. Like, I can put in here's the details of it. I actually start at the transcript, right? So I have a planning meeting with the person who is going to be my co-host for the day. That transcript then goes into the custom GPT, and I'm like, help me find the nuggets, help me create the agenda, help me write the emails, right? There's still a lot of work that goes in there, but I wouldn't be able to knock that out in the 2 hours that it normally takes now.
Uh-huh.
2 hours. That would probably, if I did that all by myself, it would easily take 4 to 6.
Mm-hmm.
Easy. I
Mm-hmm.
would because I don't have that kind. Like, I have 2 hours. I don't have 4 to 6. Not every month.
The capacity makes a difference.
Capacity makes difference. So when you're starting to think about, go back to your feelings. What's driving you crazy, right? Like, what's making you angry? What's like,
Yeah.
go back to the feelings. Okay, then remember, I'm not a huge fan of you immediately hiring somebody to solve your problem. Is there tools out there that can move the needle for you? I want to do this fireside chat. I think they're really fun. They're worth it. They're
Mm-hmm.
doing for my business what I was hoping. If anything, I'm under optimizing them. Okay, so what do I need to do next? Right? Oh, okay. Well, and if I look at what my hourly wage is, me taking 6 hours of my time or spending 2 hours of my time to plan
Exactly.
things,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, I'm willing to pay, quote unquote, pay myself 2 hours of my time to get this done. So going through the feelings, right? Because this is something that's consistent
Yeah.
and replicable, right? Granted, sure, like details and things like that changes, but it's the same system over and over again. So essentially, when I go back to look at your feelings, okay, cool. Then where can we automate? Where can tech go and solve or help you solve that problem? And then do you go and add in a person? So what I do is then I go and say I create all this stuff because I'm very controlling. It is when it comes to writing, very controlling. So I look through all the materials and then I go, okay, VA, can you go ahead and put that in the right places, right? Put it in the email, in the ESP. Can you then put it on my LinkedIn? Can you then put
All the
all of it
things.
gets sent out? And then I'm great, because like as much as I love my VA, I think she's great. she doesn't have the ability to like, I probably could train her over quite a bit of time to output this stuff for me. And then I'm looking at it at editing, but I'm like, I'm not willing to train her to do it quite yet. So I just roll with it. So
Yeah.
use AI to solve some of, and remember that AI especially is for activities that you do multiple times that you replicate.
Mm-hmm.
So using a custom GPT, Claude has like project folders. There's
Yeah.
lots of like names, but essentially keep solving your business problems. Don't start with people, start with tech.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes AI.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. Some people might hear that and that might make them cringe. And when I say some people, I mean um, of a certain generation, right? Because to them, they hear, oh no, get rid of job to input systems, when it's actually the opposite, in my opinion. It's the opposite because number one, a person created the systems, right? It takes people to create and run and maintain the systems. That's first and foremost. But also, it is a learning tool, right? So many people are talking about, oh my gosh, my student loan debt, my student loan, my student loan. Blah, blah, blah. Learning this AI is something that you can do at your leisure, on your time, when you feel like it, while you're sitting at home scratching your butt watching Golden Girls on the couch, right? And it's easy. And the more you learn what it can do, the easier it is for you in the long run, right? Um, like you said, chat. My go tos are chat and Gemini. Sometimes I'll bounce the exact same prompt off each other just to see the different ideas, right?
Mhm.
Um, and doing something as simple as saying, these are all the things that I want to do. I don't feel like formatting it right now. Format it for me in a PDF. Here's all the information. Organize it, format it for me on a spreadsheet.
Yep.
That takes so much off my plate, and I love it. So I think this is
I use
listen.
I like to think of it as like, yes, you're not really taking away jobs because they're you were doing it.
You were doing it anyway.
You were doing it anyway. So you're just getting smarter, faster. I actually, the place where I learned a lot about ChatGPT or any of like, I really just call them AI tools. I don't really care. Like, choose your favorite. There's a
Yeah.
lot of them on the market. I actually learn a lot on Instagram.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So because
Mm-hmm.
like there's a lot of different ones that like give you prompts and stuff, but it's becoming a student of prompting and like understanding what could be asked. So like yesterday I was like cooking and I was on Instagram because you're multitasking. Like it was like why don't you one of the prompts was like snap a picture of your receipt and ask ChatGPT, your favorite AI, is there where might I have waste inside of my receipt? Huh.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. The things
That's
that you
an,
don't realize that it can do.
that's that's an excellent idea. And so what I've created is I have a project inside of my ChatGPT that is called just random prompts from the internet because I just want to see what happens. Right. So I screenshot the prompt. Like I've gotten to a point where I'm lazy and I just screenshot the prompt and I'm like, I found this and I just give it like a really quick context. I found this prompt on the internet. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Insert picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I just want to see, right? And so like what happens when you start just I use Instagram mostly because it's easy for me to screenshot. Like
Yeah, it is.
I'm not gonna read a whole thing. Like
Uh-huh.
sometimes I'll skim an article, but it needs to be crystal clear. Like yeah, but I want to see what are people using for use cases and then like how could I use that, right? I learned about this lady who uses Claude. Claude's one of the better
Mm-hmm.
ones for privacy. She uses Claude as her way of helping her in her business financial system. It goes and asks her questions about making sure that her transactions are categorized correctly. That's brilliant,
Mm-hmm.
right? because part of our problem is we have this big section that's called uncategorized transactions. It sometimes goes in like freaking is more than what we
Actual
spend like
expenses.
our entire expenses. So she has this GPT or project in Claude that's just all of it's like I couldn't do this one, I couldn't do this one, and it helps her with the categorization.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so like going out and like actively looking for other people's use cases will inspire opportunities for
Yeah.
you. And like sometimes like I use a lot of my GPT is a lot about strategy. Like I
Mm-hmm.
want a commenting strategy. I want an email strategy. Like help me figure this out,
Mm-hmm.
and using and then but what other ways are people using it to get you pushing out the door?
Exactly. Exactly. Listen, people, technology is here to stay. The
Technology.
AI is here to stay. Um, don't resist, right? What is it? If you can't beat them, join them. Join
Yeah,
them
yeah.
because it's here. It's helpful. Obviously, just like anything, it's good for what it's good for, right? It's good for what it's intended purpose. Don't resist. I think that if you, like you said, if you're not using AI technology right now in your business specifically, and it doesn't have to be in a robust manner, but just in some form of fashion, you are late to the gate. You're late to the gate. So, yeah, Chanaye, we have talked a lot. You have given a lot of information. I feel like, listen, I took some notes. Like, I feel like this was a really, really good conversation, and I think it's going to be helpful to a lot of folks out there. Um, I hate to end it, to be honest, because I feel like there's so much more that we can dive into. So we might have to part two this. So just keep that in mind.
I'm always ready for you.
I want you to tell our audience how they can contact you, stay updated on any upcoming engagement events, your website address, all the good stuff.
Awesome. So I hang out the most on LinkedIn. That's where you can find me. So Chanaye, Chanaye Jackson. If you can spell it, you will find me. I think there's two of us who spell our names like this. So you'll see me. Yeah, so Chanaye Jackson on LinkedIn. And then my website, swantowncreative.com, swan like the bird, creative, swantowncreative.com. And yeah, join me at a fireside chat. I do them every month on the second Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time.
I love
So
it.
yeah, that's the best way to get a hold of me. And of course, I'm always around. So I'm sure you'll find me in other places too. I think I have an Instagram, I have a TikTok. You'll find me. I'm
She
here.
has
I'm
the
around.
stuff.
I have the
Her website is scrolling at the bottom of the screen for those who are watching and not listening, swantowncreative.com. Tell us, as we always end our show, either your greatest joy or what your favorite quote is for this month.
My greatest joy has been actually relearning how to create space.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so that like we were talking about earlier, so that I can think, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I think that I'm not getting political, but we as Americans are going through challenging times. And
Mm-hmm.
so figuring out how to create space so that we can think. And for me, I'm focused on my personal life and on my business. So I'm not even talking about America as a whole. It's my job, but it's my job in a different way. So helping myself create space so that I can think and get myself out of a frustration or frustrations.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Chanaye, you have been an amazing guest, always a friend and family member of Life Uncensored. I'm
Thank
going
you.
to ask you to sit tight as I close out the show. All right, everyone, Swantown Creative. She says she hangs out the most on LinkedIn. Chanaye, Chanaye Jackson on LinkedIn. Check her out. Check out her fireside chats again every second Wednesday of every month, 2 p.m. Eastern. Check her out, okay? And you'll be seeing her again on Life Uncensored, so stay tuned.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Shanae. All right. Chanaye Jackson. I love having her on. She's always a ball of energy and fun and information that is pertinent for you and your business. Couple of housekeeping notes there. I have now joined TikTok, so you can find me on TikTok at amanda.ldavis on TikTok. So like, share, subscribe, follow, all the good stuff. Make sure that you are following us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Spotify. All right, Life Uncensored and Life Uncensored Live, respectively. If you have a product or service that you'd like to advertise on our show, go to our website. That's life-uncensored.com and scroll down to about the bottom of the page and drop us a line. We'd love to talk to you and see how we can help promote your business, your service, your product. Likewise, if you have an idea for an episode or you want to be a guest on Life Uncensored, go to our website. Again, it's life-uncensored.com. It's scrolling at the bottom of the screen there for those who are watching, and drop us a note. All right. Because we'd love to talk to you. We love learning what's going on with people and things. So reach out to us. Okay. My quote for today to end out this episode is from James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. And I think it is perfect for this episode's topic, fixing business systems that power your business. And the quote goes, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems." I think that's quite true. Thank you all for having me in your ears today. Thank you again to Miss Chanaye Jackson. Until next time, stay hydrated, stay safe, and do something kind for someone. You never know. You might change the world.
Reminder that if you want to be exceptional, you're going to be different from everyone else. That's what makes you exceptional. You can't fit in and also be exceptional. Both have discomfort. When you fit in, you have internal conflict because you're not being 100% you. When you're exceptional, you have external conflict because everyone sees you as different. Pick one.